welcome. I am Ladi Akeredolu. Tonight, Federal High Court in Lagos orders the President and Acting President to publish names of alleged looters, as Attorney General of the Federation says government will obey the order. House of Representatives may invite former President Goodluck Jonathan to testify on the Malabu oil deal. More Boko Haram militants surrender to Nigerian troops as Air Force launches fresh attack on Sambisa forest. And Al-Shabaab militants engage Kenyan forces in day-long battle. 3 police officers are killed.
On Business News tonight, federal government's tax amnesty initiative faces large task to generate a revenue target of $1 billion.
While on sports news, Nigeria striker Emmanuel Menike joins Greek champions Olympiacos on a 2-year contract worth €2.5 million.
We're again tonight with news that will interest a lot of Nigerians, as the Federal High Court sitting in Lagos today ordered the President and Acting President to, as a matter of urgency, publish all names of suspected looters in the country. This order, according to Justice Hadiza Shagari, is in public interest and will avail Nigerians the opportunity of knowing all those who allegedly embezzled public funds. Justice Shagari, who delivered the judgment on the suit filed by the Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERP, also asks the federal government to publish the exact amounts of funds recovered from each public official. There are suspicions that the funds were recovered from high-ranking public officials and private individuals last year. And of course, the directive of the court that the names of looters be published formed part of discussions at the Federal Executive Council meeting today. The Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation, Mr. Abubakar Malami, announced that the federal government is in agreement with the ruling and will carry out the order as long as there are no legal issues. At the start of the meeting, Acting President Yemi Osinbajo called for a minute's silence in honor of the elder statesman, the late Maitama Sule. Our correspondent, Gloria Umezeoke, reports.
A minute's silence by the Executive Council in honor of the late elder statesman, Maitama Sule.
Pray for the comfort of his family and all those who will listen to this station.
This is how the Acting President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, commenced the Federal Executive Council meeting.
I had cause to discuss with him on the unity of the nation.
After the closed-door meeting, the judgment by a Federal High Court in Lagos, which ordered the federal government to publish the names of treasury looters in the country, came up. The Minister of Justice and Attorney General of the Federation told State House correspondents that the government will obey the order as long as its action does not constitute sub judice.
The disclosure definitely will definitely be made, but then it is contingent on the consummation of associated considerations as it relates to sub judice principles, as it relates to conclusion of reconciliations and confirmation of figures. So that is being done, and the government will at the appropriate time make necessary disclosures, perhaps intermittently, against the background of the prevailing conditions relating to the pendency of certain suits and associated things.
The Council also approved a roadmap for the implementation of the newly developed anti-corruption strategy. The Attorney General explained that the policy is geared towards enhancing enforcement and sanctions in the ongoing anti-corruption war.
It is intended to look into the existing anti-corruption institutions to accommodate the existing legislations and ensure that a roadmap is put in place for the efficient execution of these legislations, efficient performance of the existing anti-corruption institutions, and above all, look at it from the direction of enforcement and sanctions.
President Muhammadu Buhari's promise to confront endemic corruption in the country came with high expectations, which the government now seems more determined through these policies to live up to. Gloria Umezuke, Channels Television News.
In the meantime, the Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar Malami, and the Minister of Information, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, have expressed separate views on the face-off between the Senate and the acting president over the limits of the powers of the National Assembly. While the Attorney General says the opinion is that of the acting president, the Minister of Information explains that the executive and the legislature will find a way to resolve the dispute.
The fundamental consideration about the alleged statement is the fact that at no point ever the Federal Executive Council sat down to arrive at a decision in one way or the other as far as the issue of nomination or otherwise is concerned. So I do not think it constitutes an issue for the Federal Executive Council to make any clarification about, because it has never been considered by the Federal Executive Council. But the Honorable Minister of Information shed further light.
Right. Yes, with due respect, I think the statement I made earlier on, I think covers your question, which is that whatever may be the misunderstanding or problem between the National Assembly and the Executive, that we have an excellent mechanism for resolving it. I don't think we need to go to particulars or to go to specific statements as to what was said by A or B. We are not trying to, we believe that government is not just one arm, the executive alone, and that we believe that the government is both legislative, executive, and judiciary. And I think my answer is the same. Whatever might be the problem, we are resolving it and we are addressing it.
Now, it is almost guaranteed that the National Assembly and the Executive would bicker every year over the national budget. This year has not been an exception, as the National Assembly is on the warpath with the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, over his utterances on the 2017 budget. Our correspondent, Linda Akigwe, reports.
This House should not take it lightly. The minister should be called to answer these charges of insult to the institution of the National Assembly.
It's daggers drawn against the executive as federal lawmakers expressing displeasure over some utterances made by members of the executive. Representative Ado Dogowa and his colleagues in the House of Representatives are displeased that the Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, says the National Assembly spokesmen displayed a stark and worrisome gap in their understanding of the workings of the budgetary process. The face-off between the National Assembly and Mr. Fashola is over the 2017 budget, with both sides firing accusations and counter-accusations. Mr. Fashola had complained recently that federal lawmakers reduced funds for some key projects for his ministry in the 2017 budget and allocated the money to some frivolous projects such as boreholes. The spokesmen of the Senate and the House of Representatives swiftly replied, accusing Mr. Fashola of spreading wrong information and half-truths. The Senate Appropriation Committee chairman is also coming down hard on Mr. Fashola.
If the job is too much for him because the ministry is too big, the ministry is comprising 3 ministries, works, housing and power. Probably the job is too much for him. If he cannot adjust, then he should do the honorable thing. He should do the needful.
Public analysts say the disagreement between both arms of government is costing the country a lot.
Now, what is expected of the executive is to proceed expeditiously, process the monies, release them, and start implementation. And what is expected is also that they should have by now almost gotten ready the medium-term expenditure framework, give it to National Assembly, let them look at it before they proceed on their mid-term vacation. And then when they come back, so both the executive and legislature left what they should be doing at this critical point in time and spilling a lot of bile into the system. So you could very well be sure that this will affect the 2018 process if there's already a lot of bickering.
They propose ways of resolving this yearly problem.
What happens is that the two people are stiff-necked. Both the executive and the legislature, they are arrogant and stiff-necked. It's not a question of it is mine, it's my right. It is about the rights of Nigerian people. So all they need to do is to sit down and talk to each other, because none of them, the way the constitution stands today, can do it alone. You will always have this face-off.
There has to be a budget process where the executive sits with the legislature and agrees on projects way ahead. Every government has its projects. Every government has its program. And if you want to deliver on it, you've got to engage.
In the meantime, the House of Representatives has summoned the Works, Power and Housing Minister, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, over his comments on the National Assembly's alteration of a 2017 budget. Linda Akibe, Channels Television News.
The House of Representatives Committee on OPL 245 may be inviting former President Goodluck Jonathan to testify in the ongoing investigations into the Malabu oil deal. The committee says it had conducted extensive investigation into the OPL 245 and would want to hear from the former president to ensure justice and fair play. The committee explains that it took account of the fact that Dr. Jonathan was the president at the time the ministers brokered the deal that led to the alleged diversion of $1 billion. The Secretariat is expected to write the former president for his response and submissions.
In the interest of thoroughness, natural justice and fair play, it is imperative that evidence should be taken from former President Goodluck Jonathan. Pursuant to the provisions of the Constitution, the committee has decided to request that former President Goodluck Jonathan give evidence to the committee as to his role in the matter. In arriving at this decision, the committee took account of the following facts. 1. Mr. Jonathan was the president at the material time. The ministers brokered the so-called resolution agreement that led to the allegation of the diversion of $1 billion US dollars. 2. Mr. Jonathan's name features in the proceedings initiated by the public prosecutor of Milan in Italy. 3. A UK court judgment in relation to an application to return part of the money restrained castigated the Jonathan administration as not having acted in the best interest of Nigeria in relation to the deal. 4. The Attorney General of the Federation at the material time, Mohammed Bello Adoke, who of course has been charged by the EFCC in relation to the deal, has recently instituted proceedings in court wherein he pleads that all his actions were as instructed by former President Goodluck Jonathan.
Another batch of Boko Haram terrorists today surrendered to Nigerian troops. 57 of them, conveyed in 2 coastal buses, arrived earlier at the Theatre Command Operation Lafayette Dole in Borno State. The terrorists are mostly from Goza local government area. They're worried about the security of their family members and have pleaded that they do not want their faces shown. In part 2, after the break, Nigeria challenged to regain its leadership role in Africa's political and economic spheres. I'll be joined on the news at 10 by economist Adi Bongo. Do stay on with us.